Welcome back to Titus Talent Talks. I'm Jonathan Reynolds, your host, and I'm really excited about this podcast. I'm here visiting Southern California, and I'm sitting here with she's my friend, Lorie Clements, expert EOS implementer. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thrilled to be here, Jonathan.
We were just talking and riffing before we hit record, and
as we do.
And yeah, seriously, and I'm like Nick's going, stop! This is getting good, and I'm like, oh shoot, what were we saying that was good? And so now I'm trying to remember, but
rewind.
I was saying how these podcasts,
what you couldn't Google, right? The vulnerable spaces.
There you go. Thank you for reminding me. Oh, you're such a good at this, helping visionaries stay on track.
I've done it once or twice.
Okay, I do want to hear about that, but I was just saying, like, our introduction to one another was kind of like throw in the deep end of vulnerability, of unexpected, kind of like, okay, we're going there, you know? So we first kind of met in interacting on a home build that Titus was doing with a bunch of EOS-y people. I don't know, that's not the right term, EOS-y.
Let's go with it.
And this is just a while back. Well, the time this aired, it was probably 6 months ago we actually went, but it was wild. And if anyone wanted to know, they can go on YouTube and they could search Lorie Clements, and it's going to come up and say the practice of empathy. Oh. Grab some tissues and watch a video, grab some tissues and a popcorn. But so tell us about that experience. Go.
It was amazing. Where does one begin? So to do this home build in Ensenada, Mexico, it's fascinating because it's literally, 2 hours from where I live, but it just felt like a world away, right? Yeah. Crossing the border and just completely different way of life. The poverty was very staggering where we were building this house. And I brought my daughter, my 15-year-old daughter, Chloe, who's just amazing, but hasn't had a lot of those, firsthand encounters with such a different way of life, right?
Yeah.
So I just felt like it would be really important to bring her. So it was amazing. We had this group of fantastic EOSI people or EOS-ish people, whatever you want to call us, that's fine. And Titus professionals. And, we just came together and unified around this common goal to build this house in 2 days.
Yeah.
And, it didn't matter, who was who or what part of the country you're from or how many clients you have. None of that matters. It was just like, hey, you, bring me that paint and I need you to hold up this wall. Come here, right? And it was awesome. So it was just a beautiful experience. And, man, getting to interact with the family, I get a little emotional even thinking about it because they were so humbled and grateful. And, there was this part on day 2 where we pulled up and the daughter just came running to meet us and jumped into my arms and right? Just amazing. So really good experience, lots of bonding, lots of memories, and tremendous good done for that family. I mean, we put them ahead 10 years, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's it's so easy just to take me back there. And I have the privilege. You talk about the EOS life. One of the things, like doing what you love with people you love. For me, when I got to map that out, what does that look like for me as visionary at Titus? I'm like, well, I want to take the profits of our company and do good. And I want to not just like, this is my thing and go do it, but I want to take people with me, our team members primarily, and then the people that we interact with and we want to honor who've helped us grow. And in this case, a lot of EOS implementers across the country, working with a few hundred now, and it's so amazing and rewarding. But my EOS life is, let's go and do good.
Love that.
I don't have a kind of affinity to go and building homes in Mexico necessarily, but when I got to go with my family many years back, 5 years back, I was like, I just want to take everyone. Can everyone come? Anyone who I care about, they got to come because it is so like other world.
Yes.
And it really wrecks the way you think about life, I always say it wrecks the way I think about entitlement. Yeah. It wrecks the way I think about my level of convenience. and even just kind of running into Starbucks and I get irritated. I put it in the app. I put it there.
Why isn't it ready?
Like I want it now, and I'm just like, whoa,
Yeah.
just kind of. Yeah, but bringing our kids as well has been amazing.
Right.
And I try and bring my family once a year to do it. Okay, so coming back
Yes.
to the US, coming back to Solana Beach, California, beautiful paradise. Like, what was the kind of unpacking for you of how did you respond when you came back?
It was weird. And then that day I flew to Dallas, literally the day we got back, because I was delivering a keynote address for a conference. So it was just, kind of a whirlwind. And the whole time, coming back here and being able to just hug my family, right? And be so grateful for what we have built, but also for the opportunity that we were provided to be able to build what we have done together. And, and then, just trying to, you don't want to compartmentalize it, right? You don't want to put those feelings in a box and just move on. But then how do you rationalize that with, okay, now I'm delivering a keynote address and tomorrow I'm with a new team and here we go, right? So, one thing that I've done is that picture that you gave us.
Yeah.
I put it right there on my desk.
Yeah.
And so, you're having a hard day or you're a little frustrated about something, your example with Starbucks, right? Whatever it is that's frustrating you look at that and you think, really? Are my problems so terrible?
Yeah.
And it just gives you a beautiful level of perspective that you can, like a touch point almost, that you can come back to that and immediately just be like, you know what? This isn't that big of a deal. What am I focusing on the right priorities, on the most important things?
Yeah. That's amazing because I think when I think of EOS implementers, I think of helping other people to stay focused.
Yes.
Like stay focused is kind of like a little, amount of people's like signature, stay focused. I'm like, oh, okay. It makes me kind of like, am I not
Does it
focused?
give you
What
anxiety?
am I doing?
What did I do wrong?
I'm told ADHD, like squirrels, so I'm like, stay focused. What am I supposed to focus on? But it's one of these things where you've chosen to put in your focus a photograph that brings you back somewhere to remind you of an experience that matters and hopefully would filter your day. How does that show up in with your work that you do with clients and helping them with their journey? Like, I don't know if it impacts you there.
So that's kind of my journey with a practice of gratitude, right? And then in my work, I think how it shows up is, yes, we're supposed to stay focused, but what are we staying focused on? And how are we truly identifying those top priorities? Should those be the top priorities, right? Like if you spend, the people analyzer, what are you upset about with this person, right?
Right.
Is it trivial? Is it meaningful? When you think about business priorities, is that the right priority? Where are you putting your energy and your time?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that something that's serving you? Or are you doing yourself a disservice by what you're focused on? So it's like, yes, stay focused, but stay focused on the right things, stay focused on the priorities, keep things in perspective, right?
Yeah.
And we can all help each other do that.
Oh, totally.
We can work ourselves into a tizzy or ruminate about something that's unhealthy for business, for personal, what have you, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what a coach does, right? Help us kind of step back and see that forest.
And what really matters.
Yes.
What really matters. I was on a guest on somebody else's podcast, and they were talking about, you're fast growing and this, and it was all this kind of like mover shaker type stuff, and stuff that would make me feel proud. I'm like, we're fast growing, we're a high performance company, we're debt free, we're this, we're do. And I came into that podcast right after one of these kind of experiences.
Oh, wow.
And I was suddenly like, they wanted to talk about that, and I'm like, it doesn't matter. Nothing matters, I'm like, and it was kind of like this really awkward moment. But I'm having these like processing through, going, but what really matters? What really is it? My health? Is that important? Is it the health of my relationships with my family?
Yeah.
And coming from a culture that we were in, it was just like such a family rich culture.
It was gorgeous.
Deeply caring for family. And I think probably for a lot of entrepreneurial movers, shaker, visionaries, and integrators that you get to work with, goals are really, the 3-year picture. Here's what, and it includes growth because everyone's wants to grow and whatever that means by their definition. And here I am going, those things are really important, but at what cost?
Yeah.
Like, what is the exchange and cost of those things? Now, I'm saying that as somebody who I deeply care about growth. And like you ask anyone on our leadership team, they're like, yeah, Jonathan can't handle it if we're less than 20% growth. I actually wrote in our manifesto, which is kind of our kind of guiding document, like our employee manual.
Love it.
It was like, anything less than 20%, Jonathan's going to quit. And then I was like, how narcissistic does that seem? It's like, is it about, wait, we have to grow, otherwise Jonathan will resign. Like, I'm like, oh
we
my
need
gosh.
2 more points. Somebody find some growth somewhere.
And I'm just like, why?
I can see him eyeing the exit.
Seriously. But I'm just like, why? At what cost? And I was just kind of looking at the cost of life.
There's trade-offs, right?
Yes, there are trade-offs in all of these things.
At what cost? If we spend our energy here, what might we be missing elsewhere? And being strategic.
Is that something do you work with companies on this? Can you help me?
All the time. All the time.
What do you say? What do you say to high drive people that want to grow at any cost? Like, how do you navigate that?
What do I say to high drive people who want to grow at any cost? Well, first of all, in the work that I do, it's all about alignment. So is this one person pushing growth and then the rest of the team is, giving them the crazy side eye, like, is he for real? Or what do you think, right? And so if it's one person that's pushing crazy growth and their leadership team is not on the same page, oftentimes there's some driver for that growth that you have to just unpack the onion and you have to ask a lot of questions and really understand, well, what is it that growth will enable you to do?
Right.
What will the business look like at that size? Is it because you want to sell the business? Is it because you want to acquire other businesses?
Yeah.
Is it for you when you were 12, you just knew you wanted to run a $100 million company, right? What is it? And so I feel like when you just stay curious and you just seek to understand, oftentimes through the discussion, we either get better alignment around the team and the team is like, oh yeah, actually, think of all the things we could do if we got to that size. Okay, now we're more excited. Or sometimes it's somewhere in the middle. Maybe we don't want to be 100 million in 3 years. Maybe that's too fast.
Right.
And maybe we want more conscientious growth, like take the right clients, not just any client, for example.
Yeah.
So when I work with clients on that, I just stay curious, ask a ton of questions, right? Seek to understand, get that alignment. It's fun.
Gosh.
It's like trying to solve a puzzle.
Seek to understand. Sometimes with my wife, listen, seek to understand. Just don't listen to speak.
I don't think he's saying that in a good way.
He knows too well. He's like, why are you jumping? What, you haven't even heard my sentence yet and you're ready to answer. I'm like,
that's your rapid quick fire, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Your quick start.
I'm a 22810 on the Colby, so I'm like,
Never would have guessed it.
No, 2210.5. No, I'm a 2210.5 Okay.
Got it. Yeah.
Anyway, who cares?
Right.
Let's go. Anyway,
it's interesting.
Let's go. We'll think about it later. I remember looking to Scott, our integrator, and I said, I want to take the whole company to the Bahamas. This was years back, So I want to take the whole company to the Bahamas to reward our growth. And he just went, what? And he goes, you're the whole company to the Bahamas. I'm like, yeah, just tell me the number. Tell me the number that we have to hit to so we can actually afford to do this. And so I announced it to the company and everyone's like, yeah, it's so exciting. We're going to go next January. By the end of Q1, it was like wheels were falling off. It was like people were like, we can't handle this. It's too much growth. So I said, all right, we're canceling it. Would everyone like to cancel it? And everyone was like, 80% of the people were like, yes, please cancel this thing. And then there's other 20% like, no, let's keep going. And I'm like, all right. Those who want to go will still take you. The rest of you can't go. No, anyway. But literally, we changed it and said, okay, the highest performing people, you get to go. You crazy wild ones. But it's been that process of like trying to figure out kind of why we do things. So let's go personal. Why do you do what you do?
Never saw that one coming, Jonathan.
Yeah, sure, right.
I can't take credit for this, but somebody said this years ago, and I love this thought. I love impacting the impactors. And when I was running a transportation company is when I first started using EOS, and I loved the results, right? And then I used it in 2 other businesses before I decided this is my passion. Like, to me, it was just like, think of the impact I could make if I could help other businesses skin their knees less, scale up more elegantly, right? Enjoy the journey. To me, like, that was just too juicy of a challenge to not just run after it.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And impacting the impactors means, for example, visionaries, leadership teams, they have an inordinate amount of sway in the lives of all of their employees, and then the clients that they help and serve, the vendors, right? And so if you can have meaningful impact at that level, it's just a trickle-down effect, right? It can resonate and touch so many more lives.
Yes.
And so to me, that's what it's all about. It's like, how many lives can I positively impact?
Do you track that?
I track the companies I work with, and I know approximately how many employees they each have. So I could do some cowboy math and come up with something fun. Why not?
So you mentioned you owned or ran a logistics company?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Did you start the company?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I was the integrator. And we self-implemented, actually, EOS. So, of course,
Successfully?
made all the mistakes, but learned a ton. And it was fantastic. And it was fun because, being a female in the transportation industry, kind of, rare or unheard of.
Yeah.
And, we were able to accomplish just a ton. And it just opened my eyes up to how can we keep things simple? I'd gotten my MBA and I love learning and I so appreciated that. But I felt like sometimes things were overly complex and didn't really holistically weave together. I want to do this, but then that's not going to work with this. And so how do I reconcile that? So what I loved about that experience was just how much farther you can go with a simple plan that everyone is aligned on. Like, calm the chaos with elegant simplicity. Yes, please. I feel like that's my calling.
Brilliant. I can agree with that because everyone's rowing in the same direction. Everyone knows what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Yes.
Pre-made decisions, it's like we already decided. Here it is.
There's no stress about it. Pull it out. Oh, that's what we're doing. All right.
It's really clear.
You went on
Everyone
this
knows.
bus. That's where we're headed.
I love it. We even just this morning, goodness me. This morning we presented the quarterly review reports to the whole company. We're transparent on everything. So
Congrats.
we go through how we did it on our rocks for the quarter, and what completion it was, and went through all of those, and then remind everyone of the goals for the year. Here are the goals. Here's how we're doing, and everyone's like, I'm like, hey, make sure you're aligned to these things. It's great. It's great when everyone's going in the same direction. But prior to the logistics gig, go back.
Sure.
Where did you get this, drive for achieving big things? Because you're a big. You mentioned your MBA. You've been CFO, and you were CFO at quite a young age.
Yes.
So you got this kind of drive, and where did that come from?
Yeah. Wow. I mean, honestly, I think I was just always born this way, right? Yeah. If I was running track, I wanted, to train before the season started, right? And if I was studying and I wanted to not just study for the test, but help other people study too, because you learn so much more when you teach others too, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's just innate. I feel like life's short. I've seen a lot of people not enjoy how they've spent their years.
Yeah.
And so I'm just driven to accomplish a lot in the short amount of time, right? Like just booked a trip to Japan this Christmas. And I'm like, we're learning Japanese, family.
Come on. I love it.
It's been a blast. I've got the Duolingo app every night at dinner.
That is cool.
So fun. I mean, why not? You're never too old to just keep learning new things, sharpen that saw, right?
Yes.
And keeps things interesting. So I think being driven, to me, I equate it to living a full life.
How do you measure that?
I actually have a scorecard.
Do you really?
Of course I do.
Okay.
I have a personal scorecard.
All right.
And I measure across many factors. And, my family runs on EOS. And so we talk about like, all right, are we accomplishing our goals? Sometimes I get some rolled eyes from my teenagers.
I'm sure.
But, when they were younger, the rocks were adorable. Now these days, they're like, let me guess, my rock should be about grades. But, yeah, probably it should.
That's great.
So how do I measure it? I measure it through like just rigorous self-assessment.
Yeah.
Where am I? Am I on track? And then just communication. It's not just me, it's my family, it's those around me.
Do you, I can imagine as a mother, like you got such a great smile, like, and here are your rocks. It's A's, you got this big grin.
Yep.
How do people get mad at you? So,
I have a saying for that.
Go.
I'm kind, but I'm intense. Right? And I
Yes.
will say it with a smile, but I will say what you need to hear. My version of caring is being willing to tell people what they need to hear.
Oh, that's good.
But you don't have to do it in a harsh way, right?
What would you tell yourself, if you kind of fast forward a little bit, like, and you wanted to, like in the rearview mirror now, if you're looking back here, what would you tell Lorie Clements in 2023? What would your advice to yourself be?
I have just a lifelong appreciation for something I'm really not good at. I am not good at not worrying about things that are not in my control. And so I coach other people to do this, but I continue my inward struggle with that. That's not in my control, how that leadership team member responded to, a well-crafted plea from the rest of the team, right? Or there's just, that would be the advice I would give myself.
And learning to let those things go.
Yes, because the attention we're giving things that are outside of our control is robbing attention we could be giving things that is in our sphere of influence, that is in our control.
Yeah.
So it's, focus on the actionable and stop worrying about all the rest.
Are there certain things that come up cyclically for you that you're like, oh my gosh, here I am again. I'm like totally focusing on the wrong thing. What would your family say about you?
Oh,
in
yeah.
those areas? That's probably a better way of saying it. What irritates them that you're focusing on? Like, why do you care, Mom?
Recycling. And wet towels on the floor.
Oh, I'm with you. Golly.
Freaking drives me nuts. What would my family say? Well, I mean, I drive them nuts in lots of ways. I have a lot of energy and enthusiasm. So I'm like, do we have the perfect vacation schedule so that everyone can feel relaxed while still checking out all the things?
Not relaxed you look right now. It's kind of like,
so
we're
relaxed.
on vacation.
And they're like, Mom, dial it down.
I love it.
I'm not sure that I totally answered your question, but there's a little anecdote for you. I'm sure I drive people crazy with my relentless energy and enthusiasm, but
I love that.
it's
though.
who I am, and I can't damper it.
People love being around it, and obviously they need a kind of space as well. For me, I'm like, let's do this. I'm so extreme on anything I do. It's going to be like crazy. I remember in the middle of COVID, we were living here in San Diego, and I said to my son, who was young teenager at the time, I'm like, where do you want to go? Anywhere in the world. Flights are really cheap. Let's go.
Yeah.
I don't care. I was just like, I'm like, let's just go take on the world. And he was like, can we just stay home? And I'm like, yeah, but I just said anywhere in the world.
Maybe you didn't hear me.
I was like, what about New Zealand? When he goes, I don't want to fly to New Zealand. Like, why are we going to New Zealand, Dad? It's always like, the biggest, the best. Like, let's go do something really big. And you're so extreme, Dad. Why are you so, I'm like, everything's, like you say wet towels. I'm like, there's going to be mold growing under there, like, it's been on the ground for like an hour. And I'm like, yeah, mold spores grow fast, like.
I 100% get you. I'm like, we should sit with gorillas in Rwanda and we'll go on a nature safari. And my whole family's like, yeah, that doesn't sound fun, Mom. I'm like,
All right.
how is that
I'm taking you. I'm taking you.
Thank you.
Talk about trips. I'm let's let you know this. By the time whenever this airs, in a few months' time, we're going to do our first Titus trip to Africa. We're going to go to Malawi.
Stop.
And we're going to take we're going to take Laurie.
Yes,
because you want to go.
Yes. And my family won't go with me.
Yeah, totally. You can bring a plus
Don't
one
make me
again.
go
Just
to Malawi by myself.
we'll take it. We're going to take a team, and we're working with this amazing not-for-profit that brings solar-powered flashlights to kids and families in villages.
Yeah.
So they have no electricity, but it gives them an extension of their day, so they can do schoolwork and they can work on businesses, and they actually help them with a whole system and a process to take what they would have spent on paraffin or for their little lanterns, to put the money in a little savings pot, and
you're helping them save
for a chicken.
Yes.
Then you sell the eggs when you make, and every time you just keep putting money from your paraffin, and you build up, and then you take your chicken eggs, you sell those, and then you buy a pig, and you take your pig, and you sell that, and then from the proceeds, then you buy a cow, and they have this whole system and a process. You'd love it because it's all kind of pictorial images.
I donate to Heifer organization every year, and they do the same thing. Like teach people how to like raise chickens, cows, all these things. So like our family buys other families across the world, ducks and chickens but I love the solar power angle too. Yeah. It's beautiful. Okay. Sign me up.
I'm going to get you on
Can
that
we
one.
also fit in some gorillas? Just asking for a friend.
I said to the organization, I said, so if I was to bring a team of 25 or something like that, travel's tough, it's a couple of days either side. It's going to be, can we do like a safari? And they're like, oh, totally. We'll do like an executive safari as well. And I'm like, so, all right, 3 days of working with the villages and then 2 days of safari and then come home. Hey, so we're doing it.
Love it. Awesome.
It's one of those things that just sort of slipped into the last quarterly leadership team meeting. I'm like, one other thing I'm dreaming about, because they're like, what are you dreaming about? And I'm like, Africa.
Yes. Like, did you wait till the end of the day when they were really tired? Everyone was wanting to get out of there.
They're like, what? Scott, my integrator's just like, can you stop derailing everyone with your like random things like this? And I'm like, well, I just want to inspire people. The future's looking great, okay.
I'm inspired.
Yeah, there you go. I don't think it takes too much for you and I to get inspired. What? It's exciting, super. Anyway, but
before the whole thought is out, before I know the agenda, I'm like, I'm there. Totally. When are we buying tickets?
I love it. Okay, so family. Okay, go back to even further that you've talked about everything you do, kind of drive, whether it be track, extreme excellence. Do you have siblings?
No, I'm an only child.
Only child, okay. Is that something that's sort of standard of excellence and competition? Where did that come from even before? I mean, like you said, I was born with it. Is there anything that who are the big influences other than yourself? You say it that way.
Well, I do come from a double entrepreneur family. Both my mother and father had their own businesses. So that was interesting from a young age to see what that looks like, kind of opens your eyes. Yeah. But let me think. Another thing that I think has made me driven is, like, for example, when I worked in Paris, France, for a company that was in trouble. It was a turnaround operation. They were bought out by American private equity. And then, of course, American private equity thought it would be great to send a bunch of Americans to tell French people how to run and fix their business.
Totally.
But it was such a great little business, right? And we had 3 factories, legal entities all over the world. And so just like the tentacles of this business ran long and deep. Yeah. And to be in that position of, okay, you need to be part of the team to fix this or it's going to fail. And you're going to have to tell those people that they're out of a job, and the customers that we provide, critical materials for, they have no one else to get it from. So failure is not an option. Right. And so I think a sense of responsibility can also create drive as well. If you know that you have the tools to help, then you owe it to others and to yourself to put your best foot forward.
When it comes to like growing up with 2 entrepreneurial business mover shaker people, I mean, like, there are things you see it in patterns of people like pendulum swing the other way, like, I'm never going to be like my parents. And then and vice versa. Sometimes like my parents taught me this way, that's why I'm like this way. Yeah. Are there things that you really appreciate your parents actually showing you or teaching you that you're thankful for now? Obviously, we have a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners listening to the podcast, so they're like, oh, that was,
Yeah. Actually, I'll go to my grandfather.
Cool.
So his name was Dutch Lutz, and he was the quarterback of his college team at Washington University. He was voted, I don't know, something like Campus King. I have the cup. It's hilarious. But he was this like incredibly sporty, nice, down-to-earth guy who was just all about relationships. You know, like his funeral was so touching because there was literally 1,000 people there. I'd never seen probably 800 of them in my life, right? But he touched so many people by like always remembering their names.
Beautiful.
He would teach me things like, you treat the doorman just as good as you treat the CEO, right?
Yeah.
So just those beautiful, simple lessons, right? Nothing amazingly groundbreaking, but just value others, right? And unlock the power of relationships by really caring about people.
That's beautiful. What things when it comes to your kids? I asked somebody. I think I feel bad for my kids often. Just
Me
having
too.
You feel bad for my kids? No, thanks. So fast forward, they're in their late 20s. Wait, how old's your oldest now?
15.
Oh, so Chloe's the oldest?
Yes.
And then how many others?
11 and 7, all girls. My poor husband.
That's right. Okay, so I have an 11-year-old girl as well. So okay, there's one similarity. They're in therapy in their late 20s.
Okay.
And they're talking about their upbringing.
Yeah.
What are they talking about? What are the big issues?
Oh, probably about how I moved them from Houston to San Diego.
Oh, was that tough?
Probably. It was very tough on my kids. Unfortunately, I didn't anticipate it to be so hard. So they're probably talking about that.
Oh, man, that's raw for me because I moved over here and that was very painful for our kids. They're moving around.
Right. Well, my 11-year-old said something that you'll find is funny. I'm not sure if I'm totally answering your question, but she was talking with me about, a negative experience she'd had at school. And so we discussed it together, and then I gave her a little bit of advice. And at the end, she goes, Mom, having you as my mom is like having a TED Talk on demand whenever I need it. And I don't quite know how to take that because maybe
That's great.
I think it's good, but like maybe I also drive her crazy. So she'll probably be in therapy saying, my mom's just, relentless about like trying to solve all my problems and getting me to solve all my problems. And sometimes I just want her to like sit on the couch, eat some ice cream with me,
and
chill out and listen.
That's great. Oh man, that's the awareness that you have there is good. Honestly, I mean the self-aware. I mean, one of the self-awareness is an amazing skill for any leader, right? But then it's easy for leaders in business in the marketplace to go home and just throw everything out the window,
isn't it? Though,
and just like, okay, this is me being raw and just becoming quite lazy about But it's really great to hear that you've got your plans and your intentionalities and rocks and goals. And at one side, I'm like, oh my gosh, imagine being that kid in that family, because it's super intense. But it's one of those things where at the end, as long as you're self-aware in it and you're aware of where your kids are at, I mean, what a great intentional life they're living and experiences that you're providing for them. I think it's amazing. I love that.
So we'll see. I'm sure they'll tell you that I messed them up in some way. I'm curious to learn exactly all of the ways.
Come back up again to EOS world.
Let's do it.
So you've been an EOS implementer for how long?
6 years.
Whoa.
Right? I'm like an old timer.
And you have the highest designation of expert, right? Isn't it?
Yes, correct.
Okay, it doesn't get higher than that.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's next?
That's a great question. So I really love what I do.
Yeah.
And, I'm flattered where I have almost every client I've worked for has tried to hire me. It's flattering, right? Yeah. And I think about, would I go back into industry? I don't think I can. I love being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I love what I do.
Yeah.
And so, what's next is for me, well, when you love what you do and you have new ways to deepen the work, I find that really rewarding and challenging.
Yeah.
And so because I'm an expert, I'm able to now provide an awesome new workshop on how to be a great boss.
Oh, cool.
And it covers leadership management and holding people accountable, right? With a self-assessment questionnaire on both leadership and management. And the workshop is so much fun because you get to go deep and really ask questions and pull together teams of leaders. And I love the idea that it's not just the leadership team that can benefit from all of the tools, the communication tools, the insight that we go through when you really unpack that LMA tool, that leadership management hold accountable tool. I love it. It's not just the leaders in the room that get it, but that now I can continue to pass it down through the organization with managers as well, right? And otherwise, you're relying on the leadership team, who are very busy people, to teach that tool to their leaders and managers. And I just always felt like we could be doing more. So what's next for me is, how can I do more? How can I deepen the work? And I'm really excited about doing these workshops, and it's fun. Like, I send something out and, 5 of my old clients were like, "We miss you. Will you come do this just for our company? Or can we join your public group?" And I love it. So it's like a reunion.
It's great.
And the ability to just help a broader audience.
Yeah.
Because we both know this, terrible bosses ruin lives, right? And so to the extent that you can inspire someone to be a great boss, again, with the level of impact, right?
Totally,
and the number of lives you can touch. So I'm really excited about it.
So what's the format of this? So somebody listening to this and they're like, "How to be a great boss?" What is that? Like, what is it? Sign me up. Like,
Let me tell you more.
Tell us more.
So it's based on the wonderful book by Renee Bohr and Gino Wickman, How to Be a Great Boss. And the workshop is a full day workshop where you do some learning and then you apply the learning. You share examples from your company. You have interactive discussions with a facilitator. So it's just a blast. Like, you go deeper. It's not just you're going to sit there and be talked to about what type of leader you should be. It's a conversation, right?
Great.
So I hope I answered the question.
You did.
And I love virtual. I work with most of my clients virtual.
Oh, okay.
So I'm doing a virtual all-day session. And, and then for some of my clients, I might do in person.
Yeah.
But
So they're private closed sessions, or can anyone sign up?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have a public session where anyone can sign up.
Yeah.
That's Friday, September the 15th. And then I'm doing by request private sessions, usually with my clients, but I'm a curious person.
How many of these do you want to do a year in 2024?
I don't know yet. Okay. I have maybe at least one a quarter of the public, right?
Okay, yeah.
So I don't know, let's call it 8, 10.
Are you still taking on new clients too?
I don't have a lot of room for new clients, but I take them on as often as I can.
Yeah.
And as one graduates and moves on, excited to bring on another one. So I take new clients as often as I can.
So if somebody comes to you and they're like, "I want you to implement EOS at my company, I would like to hire you as an implementer." And you say, "I'm not taking on any new clients." Who do you send them? Who's your favorite implementer? I'm just joking. I know you won't answer it.
Trying to get me in trouble with like 400 people in one go. Come on, do you?
I love conflict. I just thrive on awkward moments. So anyway, I won't put you on the spot now.
Well, I've been doing a lot of keynote speaking for conferences. And while I love that, I think this next year I'm going to pivot my attention more to these workshops.
Yeah.
And we'll see where that takes us.
What do you speak on when you do a keynote?
On EOS.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So you just talk about the process and the components of EOS.
Exactly. Like 2 weeks ago, I just spoke for a large private equity with 70 of their portfolio companies about how they can use EOS in each of their portfolio companies, the impact it can make, walking through the 6 key components, how to be strong in 6, right? All that.
Oh, that's cool.
It's my jam.
I love it. I love it. Okay, you got Japan at Christmas time.
Yes.
And how many vacations do you plan a year?
Probably 4.
Okay.
Spring break, Christmas, couple long weekends. Oh, summer. I forgot summer. Maybe 5.
I
love travel.
Where's a happy place?
I find it inspiring.
For you and your family.
Well, let's see. The south of France. I would say, because, my eldest daughter, Chloe, was born there.
Oh, really?
And we bought a small investment property in the south of France. So we know the people in this tiny little hilltop village, right? With
Sounds very idyllic.
views of the sea. And it's just so relaxing and slow there.
Yeah.
And with as much energy as I have, I can appreciate that sometimes.
You slow down?
It's healthy to slow down. I attempt to. Don't be judgy.
You're like, okay, this is what we're doing today. It's written down as the agenda. Let's go. And everyone's like, oh my God.
Slowing down to me is like, let's go on a hike. And my family's like, that's not slowing down.
Oh, I like that. It's great.
Yeah.
Probably by the time this airs, I would have got back from Machu Picchu. My wife
amazing.
And I
That's also on my bucket list.
Really?
Yes.
I'll tell you about it. I'm going
can't wait to hear
in
about it.
September. And
Are you going to walk or take the train?
oh no, walk.
Yes.
It is a full-on 10-day. We're doing a 10-day hiking trip
I love it.
for our 20th wedding anniversary. So I'm very
That's
excited about
romance.
that. I think so.
Donkeys carrying your bags.
Exactly. Like there's,
I love
I think
it.
there's actually someone who like carries a little porta potty for us as well or something. So
That's a terrible job. I'm a porta potty Sherpa. Okay.
there's lots of
You're going to
words I
tip
could
him
use
well,
for that
right?
job, but
You're going to tip him well, right?
yeah, probably.
Yeah. Don't make that guy mad.
I think my wife chose this trip because she just knows that I actually have to work out to go on the trip, and so she's excited about that.
I
So
see. She snuck in an exercise
by
regime.
the time this airs, I'll be actually 20 pounds lighter. So anyway,
Good for you.
So Machu Picchu, we're doing that. Was there a bucket list of more bucket list for you? Where do you want to go?
So I want to get my kids into scuba diving
Yeah,
because, exploring, the sea is just amazing. There's so much to learn, right? And so we've done like the Great Barrier Reef, we've dove all over, but then as soon as I started having kids, I stopped. So I'd love to get my kids certified and take them diving in some beautiful places, especially with what's happening with coral bleaching and, dive sites around the world being so impacted. I feel like kind of this sense of urgency, like we need to get on it.
get going. Yeah.
It's sad, but
Would they just learn here in San Diego?
yes, and then do their open water dive somewhere more exotic so they have a good first
yeah.
experience. Yeah.
Totally.
So that's on my list. Let's see. I want to do New Zealand. I want to do more of Southeast Asia. Africa.
You are so adventurous. I love it.
Well,
it's so great.
Some people love it. Why not? Life's too short.
Yeah, totally. Okay. Any other thing that's going on for you in your dreamy visionary mind that you want to tell people?
Well, since you talked about dreaming,
Yep.
so I do some of my best dreaming on a paddleboard. Okay, not while sleeping, not that kind of dreaming, but visioning. Yeah. Let's be clear.
She's
On a paddleboard.
Who's that on the paddleboard in the bay, just out there asleep?
Sleep? That doesn't look safe.
Yeah, as if I believe that with your energy and I'm not sleeping.
No. And really what that is for me is get on my paddleboard, get out past the breakers, be on the open water. There's, just beautiful views all around. That's clarity break, right? Yeah. So I think one thing I'd like to share is, you're never like too old or at a different phase in your life where you can't pick up a new hobby, pick up a new way to find a clarity break, pick up a new activity, learn something and use. And for me, I find, certain sports to be like almost kind of meditative where you can do some really deep thinking, like on a long run, on the paddleboard, right? Yeah. On your hike up to Machu Picchu. And when we don't do that really deep thinking, when we don't have those clarity breaks, we're just not as impactful. We're not the person that we could be to our clients, to our employees, right? To our kids, to our family. So really just in the pursuit of doing more, don't forget to slow down and have those really meaningful moments.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. I mean, beautiful way to end our time. Just that balance of do more.
Yes.
And do less.
Yes.
It's like do less to actually be able to do the great things that you're doing and achieving things, but to pause,
go
reflect.
slow to go fast.
Yeah, and dream. Yeah. Well, one last final thing. If you're going to write a book, what's it about?
So I'm really passionate about helping entrepreneurs find their purpose after they either sell their business or leave their business.
Okay.
Because I've just seen so many entrepreneurs feel a little bit adrift after that process. I mean, their identity is so intrinsically linked to the business that they worked their lifetime to build.
Oh, yeah.
And so, helping them find like, their ikigai or their personal purpose, their next big adventure, right?
Yeah.
We talked a lot about travel
Yeah.
and adventure and living life to the fullest.
Yeah.
And so, I'm really passionate about that. I think I'd like to write a book about, it's almost sort of the psychological side to exit planning. And
Oh, wow.
I love the finance side too, right? But it has to be both. You have to look at the person as a whole person. It's not just about how much money did you make on your exit.
Yeah.
Or how well did you transition your business to your son or daughter. It's about, what are you doing next?
Yes. Yeah. Well, and a kind of full circle, we started talking about something that's so meaningful, where we got to meet one another while changing other people's lives. And we can write checks.
Yes.
But it does something so much deeper when we actually go and get our hands dirty. And
So true.
seeing you embracing that family and just showing deep love for them, it's just like, all of these things are an opportunity for greater purpose. Exits, making money, profit, all the great things we can do, changing people's lives who haven't had that opportunity, haven't had the privilege. And so it is a privilege to journey with you and see you just changing the world and being a bright, bright light. So thank you for being here.
It was my pleasure. I had a blast.
Love it.
Thank you.
Cheers.